يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن. وتعلم الفقه الميسر عاملا بالشرع دون تعصب لفلان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه. أما بعد. We move on to the third category, which is the zakat on crops and fruits. And what is meant by crops and fruits? So crops is whatever is grown from the ground, like grain, wheat, barley, and the likes. And fruits are what is grown on trees, like dates and grapes and the likes. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, what translates to, O you who believe, spend from the good things that which you have earned and from that which we have produced for you from the earth. So Allah Azza wa Jal has produced for us from the earth this crops, the fruits, the grains that we feed on. And Allah Azza wa Jal also says in the Quran, and give its due zakat on the day of its harvest. So this is specifically for things that farmers grow. And the Prophet said in the hadith, alayhi salatu wasalam, on that which is irrigated by rain and springs, or plants which roots or with roots that go deep into the ground, 1/10 is due. On that which is irrigated by using camels, 1/2 of 1/10 is due. So now the hadith states that there are two different percentages for zakat. Remember, in gold, silver, and trading goods and the likes, it was 2.5%. Here, it is either 10% or 5%, depending on the method of irrigation. If there is cost on me as a farmer to irrigate, then it becomes 5%. If there's no cost, so it is fed and irrigated by water or on the edges of springs, or the plant itself can reach by its roots without any extra effort from my side, then there is 10% zakat on it. And also the Prophet ﷺ, and this is part of the evidences that it is mandated and obligatory to give zakat on such crops and fruit. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, no zakat is due on anything less than 5 wasqs. And al-wasaq is a measurement of size. So it's not a measurement of weight, rather it's a measurement of size. And 1 wasaq is equivalent to 60 sa'. And if you remember long ago, we discussed that a sa' is equivalent to 4 mud. And each mud is what one can gather in the palms of his hand. This is 1 mud. So 4 scoops of it would make a sa'. 60 scoops of it would make, or 60 sa'as would make 1 wasq. And the zakat is due in the threshold for crops and grain, for crops and fruit would be 5 wasq. Also, the consensus of scholars as an evidence is that 10% or 5% is mandated for what has been produced by the earth in terms of crops and fruit, and a different of opinion in the details. Now, if we go to the conditions of it being obligatory, what are the conditions? Of course, there are the 5 conditions we mentioned in the beginning of the book of Zakat, Islam and the likes, and you should go and refresh your memory with it. But there are specific conditions for crops and fruit. So, number 1, it should reach the threshold, an-nisab. And what is the threshold? We've just mentioned that. It is to be 5 wasq, which is equivalent to 300 sa'. And if we measure it in wheat, in good quality wheat, it should be approximately 612 kilograms, based on the sa' weighing 40 grams, 2 kilos and 40 grams. The second condition is that the farmer has full possession of it on the date of zakat, which is the harvesting date. So it is not like other goods, a full lunar year should pass. Rather, the moment the harvesting is done and the crops or the fruit are ready to be dispatched or sold or whatever, this is when the zakat is due. So, in essence, scholars define that the crops we talk about when we talk about zakat is something that can be stored and kept for safekeeping, such as wheat, such as barley, such as corn, such as rice, such as dates, among the fruits, dates and raisins. These are zakatable because we can store them, which means that anything that cannot be considered to be staple food is not zakatable. For example, oranges, apples, cucumbers, vegetables, and the likes. These are not zakatable due to the fact that they're not staple food. We cannot store them. And the threshold, as mentioned, is the weight of 612 kilograms, give or take, because again, the measurement is by size and not by weight. But this is just to approximate it to our imagination. Now, what is due on grains and fruits? Well, as we mentioned earlier, 1/10, which is 10% of whatever is harvested, is due if it is irrigated without any effort or cost. And this is understandable when it is the water is taken from springs and rivers, or from the rain, or the plant itself has roots that reach the water by itself without any cost on us. The second percentage is 5%, or half the 10th. And this is what is irrigated with some cost or some effort. For example, if we use machines and pumps and pipes, or dig ditches and would put a lot of effort in order to make the water reach, in that case, we only pay 5% as zakat, because this is what the Prophet said in the hadith, alayhi salatu wasalam, on that which is irrigated by rain, rivers or springs, or it has roots that go deep into the ground, 1/10 is due. For that which is irrigated by camels, 1/2 of 1/10 is due. And the camels is referred to in this hadith are the she-camel that used to carry the water to the crops, or to go around in circle to get the water from a well or the likes to the ditches that would make it reach the crops or the trees and the likes. When is the zakat, when is it due? Well, they say that when the crops or the fruit become well, in the sense that it is well established and the fruits are ripe, they look ripe, then zakat is due only in that case. If it's not ripe, if it's not eatable, if it's not colorful. And in one hadith, the Prophet was referring to the fruits when they become red or yellowish. So this is understood with dates when they grow. When they become ripe, they become yellow or red. Before that, it was green. So when it's become colorful and ripe and ready, this is when it is to be given. That is the zakat, it's due. Now, the default or the basic principle is that the zakat is to be given from the harvest itself. This is the norm. You have gold, you take gold and give zakat from it. You have silver, you take silver and take it. And some scholars say that this default can be compromised by giving the value. And this is what estimators do. So at the time of zakat, usually there are experts who come and look at the trees, and they're known as al-kharrasun. They do al-khars. So they come and they're professionals. They say, okay, this farm of palm trees has like 300 tons of dates expected to come from this harvest. So now we have the amount, we can estimate the value, and we can give the value in cash. This is much easier for the farmer who would like to sell the whole thing once it's harvested, instead of, taking the 5% or the 10%. And for me, just giving the cash is much easier. Now, one issue is, do we combine the harvest if it's different types because the owner is one? This depends. If the owner is one and I have different farms, and the harvest is of dates, so all of these farms are dates, palm trees. In this case, yes, I combine them and I give the zakat on them. But if I have different farms with different crops or fruit, so I have a farm of dates, it does not reach 5 wasq or 612 kilograms. And I have another farm of wheat or barley, and it doesn't reach 5 wasq. But combined they would. I do not join. As in the case of silver and gold, we do not join them together to give combined zakat, as we mentioned before. هذا والله أعلم ونسبة العلم إليه أسلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد.
يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، وتعلم الفقه الميسر عاملا بالشرع دون تعصب لفلان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.